So in this very class, I'm going to ensure that we talk about at least three concepts in Android programming. More so, I would like to show you guys on how to work with at least three different activities. Yeah. So in this class, we are going to look at how to work with a basic activity, how to work with a navigation draw activity, and a tabbed activity. Yeah, because some of you at some point in time when it comes to your design, you'll want to design your application to have a number of features. So some of which you don't really need to start from scratch because Android Studio has already implemented those. So right away, let's start with looking at how to work with a basic activity, yeah, in Android. So real quick, just click on Start a new Android Studio project. Yeah, let's just select the basic activity like that, then give it a few seconds, guys. We can name our application as, maybe I can call this as my best or my basic activity application. Basic activity application. Then just hit on a finish. Then give it a few seconds for it to finish, guys. So clearly, as you can see, our project has built successfully. And as usual, guys, in our classes, we don't really like working with the test files. So I'm just doing away with the test file so I can take you guys through this entire basic activity so that we can see how to work with the basic activity. So real quick, guys, yeah. So here is our application. So every other time we work with the basic activity, most of you guys are going to really just dive into the main activity, thinking that the main activity is somehow, or yeah, just like the same way you are used to the other applications or the empty activity. So this is a little bit different, guys, but you don't have to worry about anything because I'm going to show you exactly what this is. Yeah. So real quick, you see on our main activity, these guys have only added these methods down here. So if by any chance I did away with these methods and I did away with this floating action button with this toolbar item here, you see it will just remain like our empty activity. But now let's start working on it step by step. So when I just do maybe do some maybe undoing right there. So real quick, you see we have these guys instantiating the toolbar right up here. And this toolbar, as a matter of fact, is the one that is going to handle, like if I just take you guys to the content main, I don't know if I'm going to see something right there because this basic activity application has got a menu or menu items right up there. So on the menu, let me see if this is quite visible real quick. Yeah, so when I navigate to the menu, guys, you will see that we have these menu items right up here. Yes, you see, so on the main activity right here, if you look at it real quick, real keenly, there is something that is being implemented, the toolbar. The toolbar is going to handle the menu items right up there. No wonder, ladies and gentlemen, you see, if I just now continue undoing right here, we have these methods right down here are the ones that are implementing these menu up here. Yeah, so that if you click on this right up here, something happens. So when you look at our methods right down here, those are the ones that are implementing the menu items. But you see, this is just a floating action button. A floating action button is like some way of displaying a message to the screen. Yeah, by the time we run our application, you will see how a floating action button displays the message. And you see, this should not give you any worries because it has actually been implemented just right here. And you see, they are just declaring floating action button equals to find view by ID. So this floating action button has actually been implemented on the activity main. If I just take you guys to the activity main, you see the activity main is doing something a little bit different from what we are used to. Yeah, so this floating action button here is the one that has been implemented, guys. Yeah, this one here, as you can see, it's been given an ID fab. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, in this class we are not really going to deal with this main activity or activity main, sorry. As a matter of fact, let's just close these. The only thing I wanted to show you guys on the activity main is the floating action button. But in the meantime, these menu items right up here have been implemented on the main activity on the main activity somehow being instantiated right here using the toolbar and implemented right here with these two methods. I have a method called on create options menu. You know the kind of menu we are talking about. Yes, if you know, you know the menu. The menu. Uh, the menu items that we are talking about is this method that is implementing them. As a matter of fact, you see they are inflating the menu items from R. So R here, then there's menu right here. Where's menu? Menu right here. Then menu main. Menu main is this file. So this file here is the one that is being implemented right up there, right up there. And as you can see, if you wanted to set any click listener on any of those menu items, probably on these menu items you have maybe a logout. Maybe you have a logout menu item here, so that if you click on the logout menu item, probably I will show you how to implement such like a thing using this method down here. This method called on options item selected. Yeah, when you select an item, what happens? Right down here, right down here. This is the method that is going to implement when you click on any of these items. So right away, guys, before we even look at how to make or maybe to implement any on click on these items, can we look at how to add more items right here? So real quick, let me just switch to this other side right here. Then you see we only have one item. We only have one item right there. So I would like us to add one more item. And to be real quick, let's just copy this item here, then paste it right down here so that we can easily uh, so we can actually, once we copy and paste these menu items right here, so we can just edit them somehow. So the very first one is the one they are implementing the action settings, but again we can actually also have our own maybe action, maybe logout. Maybe we want to implement a logout menu item. Then the title, and the order category. You see this is category 100. We can make this order category 101. But again, the title that is going to appear here is not settings. You see, we have just copied and pasted the settings item right here. But you see, the settings item was using the title from at string action settings. So at string, where is our strings file? So inside the values, then strings. So at strings action settings, here it is. So here it is, guys. So that means if we also try to implement our own, let's just try to duplicate these action settings, so we can change the name to maybe action, maybe say logout. Then the text that will appear on this one here is logout. Then we have action, maybe exit. Then the text that will appear here is maybe exit up, or we can actually just say exit. Yeah, like that. Then real quick, so once we have that, so on our menu item, so we can also edit this second one from action settings to maybe action logout from the menu, from the strings file, action logout, which definitely is going to change the text to something like logout, just giving it some time for it to refresh. Then this one here, we can simply say exit. Action exit is the ID. Then order category 102. Then action exit. Action exit. Yeah, action exit. Action exit like that. Yeah. So real quick, as you can see now right here, these items have got settings, logout, and exit. Only that we haven't implemented any on clicks or something like that. But you see, we have just ensured that we have created their titles inside the string resource file. Then also ensure, you see, some of you are wondering, must we call the names as action exit, action logout, action settings, as well as as well as as well as give them the IDs, the same names? No, guys, the ID, you see, as you can see, this ID is called action exit, and the string name we have also called it action exit. it is not mandatory that they should be the same, guys. You can use different names depending on how you want to name your IDs, and also depending on how you want to call your string resource files. Yeah, this is something that we learned in our previous classes. So if you haven't looked at that, please revisit our previous classes and see how we did that. Yeah, so our action settings right there, action logout, action exit, they have the text titles as settings, logout, and exit. So for us to set the on-click listener on these menu items, yeah, we have 3 menu items right here, guys. So if we just want to set, like, say, on-click listeners on these, we can easily just proceed to our main activity where they are being implemented. So this method called on options item selected, this method is the one that is implementing the on-click listener. Yeah, is the one that is implementing the on-click listener on those menu items. And right here, as you can see, these guys are checking the ID to be, if the ID is action settings, probably that is the menu item called settings that is the one that will have been clicked. So real quick, instead of returning true, we can just toast a message. So a toast is a way of displaying a message, but a message will just pop up on the screen for a few seconds and the message will disappear. But anyway, you will see how a toast works once we run the application on our phone. So right away, let's just toast a message. So to create a toast, yeah, to create a toast, guys, to create a toast, just type there toa, yeah, TOA, like that. Then you will see an option written create a new toast. Don't select this first one. This one will be a little bit shoddy for you guys. Select this second one, with or whichever level this is going to appear. For as long as it has got, go for the one that has got a text written create a new toast, then just hit on an enter. Then the toast is going to be displayed, to be created like that for you. Then the message, we can just say maybe settings clicked, settings clicked. Then else if id equals to r.id dot maybe logout, action logout, sorry, we can also toast a message TOA. Then we select this second one, then just say maybe logout clicked. Though in our later classes, guys, we will actually implement the actual logout logic. Yeah, but right now, as it is, guys, let's just implement, like, let's just toast a message. Then else if id equals to r.id dot action exit, action exit. Yeah, then we can also just toast a message. Toast a message, sorry, toast a message and say exit clicked. But of course, we can easily implement the exit logic. Yeah, we can implement the exit logic. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it's a really straightforward thing to do. I can as well toast, and still implement the logic just right down here. So to exit an application, you can simply say system.exit. This is how to exit an application. You can give it some exit code, like say 0. Yeah, like that. Yeah, let it exit with status 0, like that. Yeah. Now, so having said that, ladies and gentlemen, as a matter of fact, if we click on any of these menu items right here, if we just click on any of these menu items right here, it is actually going to appear really nicely, really nicely, really nicely. And we can always want that when we run, maybe you see right now, these options are just appearing in a drop down sort of a menu, but you see, you might want one of them to just stick on the action bar right up here. So like, for example, if we want maybe the exit one, maybe the exit one to not to appear down here, but just to be on the action bar right up here, on the action bar right up here. So what we can do, ladies and gentlemen, we can simply switch the show as action from never to always. Then you will see the difference to always. Yeah, when I just switch it to always like that, as you can see, it is going to appear from right up here, guys. Yeah, it is something that is super straightforward. So instead of it appearing as a drop down, it will always maintain to show up on the action bar right up there, right up there. Yeah, and that is super straightforward, super straightforward. Now, having said that, guys, having said that, so the very next thing that I would like us to look at when working with a menu, with a basic activity application, is how to navigate from one fragment to another. So how to navigate from one fragment to another, ladies and gentlemen, you see, when we go to our main activity, let me just show you categorically. Our main activity is using activity main. But I told you, ladies and gentlemen, that when we go to our activity main, as usual, we will have found here some free space for us to work with. But this is a little bit different. Why? Because it is implementing a little bit different stuffs on our interface right now. Only that we have a savior line of code here. This line of code saying include content main. So right now, if we wanted to do anything on this activity main, we are not going to do it. Instead, if we want to make any changes, we better just exit this activity main and use the content main instead. But you see, the content main is the content main is actually using a little bit of a different view now. You see, right now, everything that is appearing on the content main is a fragment. So either way, we are not going to be working with the content main directly, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, instead we are going to look at how to work with fragments. Yeah. So that means in this class, neither are we going to be looking at the content main. Instead, we are going to look at, as a matter of fact, let's just close this. Yeah, we have looked at the menu items. Yeah, we can actually close that. And we have the strings file. We only came here to edit these two lines of code, so we can also exit. But as a matter of fact, let's now look at because we are working with the fragments, and when we create the basic activity application, it automatically gives us the first and the second fragment, so that now, right now, you see, if I just uh, click on the first fragment, you see, when I click on the first fragment, it is using fragment first as its layout file. So where is this fragment first? Fragment first is right here. So on our fragment first, ladies and gentlemen, we have a button written next, so that when someone is clicking on this button next, what happens? So real quick, which is the ID of this button? So this the button first has got, this button on first fragment has been given an ID button first. Yeah, has been given an ID button first, and this button has a text next. So when you click on this button, probably you're going to be expected to move to the next page or something like that. Yeah, next page or something like that. And so super straightforwardly, the very next thing that we need to look at right now is we need to see how this button has been implemented on the first fragment. So right now, you see this button has been implemented on this method called onCreateView. This method called onCreateView, guys, should not give you any worries right now. Why? Because as you can see, they're saying view.find view by ID, then they're finding view by ID to our button. We are literally not used to this. We are actually not used to this kind of finding view by ID. But you see, some of you guys are confused right now because you are seeing this activity looking at or this fragment looking at a little bit different from the one we are used to. But you don't have to worry, because I'm going to show you exactly how to break this down to come back to your normal, or to come back to the normalcy of how to work with a normal fragment. Yeah. So real quick, guys, this method down here, this is an additional affair that I don't want to work with in this class. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when someone clicks on the button next, this is what is going to be executed, because this is what is on the on-click listener. So I want us to set an on-click listener afresh to this button without using this format right here, because this format has a lot of code that you guys as beginners might get confused with. Yeah. So I would like us to break it down in a way that is super straightforward. So, ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, you see we have our own class right here and the onCreate method starting here. Somehow this has been written in a very clear manner that some of you are even afraid already, but let me just edit it like this so that you can see. This like that, then like this. As you can see, this is just one line of code, guys. This is a public view, onCreateView. Then this is a method starting here. ending here. This is just these are parameters passed in one bracket, and you see this is starting from here, ending right down here. Here is where I want to set my own click listener on a button, not down here. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, let us edit it like this. You see this return inflator? I want to change this to view, which I can call view. Then I simply say equals to inflator.inflate. Then right down here, I can return my view like that. So that means this entire view method, I don't need it. I don't need it. All I need is to set an on-click listener on a button. So right away, I can simply say my button the normal way. I can simply say now button. I can say MBTN, maybe next. All right. So guys, MBTN next. So right away on our view, we can find the view by ID. So MBTN next equals to our view dot find view by ID. R dot ID dot R dot ID dot BTN or button first. Actually, that's its ID, button first. Then right away we can set an on-click listener to our button the normal way. MBTN next dot set on-click listener new on-click Then yeah, so remember whatever we have done here, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly these guys are doing with this method. So clearly, because this is the only code that is moving a person from one page to another, this one here is making someone to move from one fragment to another. So we can just lift this code from here to here. Yeah, then we can do away with the entire method. Yeah. So you can see how we have simplified this code. So whatever we were given as the as a method, we have done away with, and it's working perfectly. All right. Yeah, so having done that, guys, so I'm very sure when someone clicks on this button called MBTN Next, they can easily navigate to the, and this is how they are navigating, guys. Let me just show you. Nav host fragment, then find view by find navigation controller. There is a navigation controller, guys, and that navigation controller is right here. I will take you guys here in a nutshell, but in the meantime, let's just see what is happening right here. So nav host find the nav controller, which is right here. Then you see we need to say the fragment from which we are moving from. So we are moving from the first fragment of this, and we are navigating to, you see, when we call the navigate method, it will directly take us to this nav fragment or nav graph file. Then we are going to say to use this ID action first fragment to second fragment. Now let's go to the navigation file and see what this action first fragment to second fragment is doing. So now first fragment, which ID? We are using this action ID, first fragment to second fragment. Look at the destination when we use this ID. The destination of this ID is second fragment. Which second fragment? The second fragment right here. And this second fragment is launching, as a matter of fact, is launching the name of a fragment called second fragment right there. So as far as we are concerned, guys, someone is going to move from this first fragment to the second fragment using this ID. So let's go to the second fragment and see if, how this button second has been implemented. So you see button second is using action second fragment to first fragment. What is that? Action second fragment to first fragment is loading the destination first fragment. This first fragment is the one that is being loaded. Yeah. So real quick on the second fragment, we can also do away with this method, guys. We can do away with this method. How? We can start by arranging our code in a nice manner so that it ceases to be confusing. Then real quick, I can just change this from view to view equals to that. Then we can return view. Then we can simply say our button called mbtn previous prev. So we can simply say mbtn prev equals to find view by I. No, we need to start with the view. View dot find view by ID. Then we can simply say r dot id dot button second. Then we can simply set an on-click listener on this mbtn prev. So mbtn prev dot set on-click listener new on-click listener. Then real quick, guys, we can simply move these. We can move this from here to here to there. Then I can just do away with this one here. Simple, guys. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, if you want to move from one fragment to another, yeah, clearly this file called nav graph is the one that is implementing that process, that entire process. Now, some of you guys are really wondering, what if I wanted to create my own fragment and move to that very, very fragment? Simple. So right away, let's just create a new fragment right here. Right click, and then just say new fragment. Then we can create a fragment with a view model, because even the one that we've been working with is the one that has been working with a view model. So we can simply say fragment with view model. Then this one we can even call it as maybe uh, which other name can we give to this? Maybe users fragment. Then when I simply click on finish, let's give it a few seconds for it to finish, guys. So real quick, ladies and gentlemen, real quick. So the very next thing that we need to do is, you see, somehow we need to do away with the view model. We need to do away with the view model. So you see, we have created a users fragment, but it is coming with the view model. So real quick, let's do away this view model. I don't really want to do to work with it. This users view model. We only created the users fragment, but it came with the users view model right here. So real quick, let's just delete these. Right click and do away with the view model. I don't really want to work with this. Delete anyway. I'm very sure it's telling me it's being used. Yes, I know, but delete anyway. Then right here, this view model here, I actually don't want to work with the view model, guys. Yeah, for beginner classes, let me just do away with the view model. Then as usual, you can have a view, called view equals to that. Then we can return the view. We can return the view. So you see, we have created our fragment. So I would just like us to go to the fragment page and drag and drop there something like a button or something like that, which we can set an on-click listener so that you guys can see again how to set an on-click listener on such like a, or even we can set a list right there. So on the users fragment right here. So I know there's this hello world text view, but I don't want to work with this text view right now. As a matter of fact, I want to remove the text view, and instead of working with a frame layout, you see this is a frame layout, I would like to start by dragging and dropping a linear layout. Yeah. You guys, we began by looking at how to work with linear layout. They're easier to work with and they don't have a lot of work. So that's why I'm even choosing to work with a linear layout. So let me drag and drop a linear layout on my frame. Yeah, real quick. Then on the linear layout, I can now drag and drop my list view, because I would just like to, I would like to drag and drop, to display a list on my fragment and probably just set an on-click lesson on each of those list items. Yeah. So right away, let me just search for a list view. Then let me just drag and drop it right here. So this list view, guys, this list view right here, I can just set an ID. Yeah, let me just give it an ID on the attribute section right here. Let me give this maybe my list. I can give it an ID like maybe let's say my list. That is the ID. Yeah. So real quick, I can just go to my strings file and set the array that I will display on my list view. So real quick, I can simply say, real quick, I can simply say I want a string array called maybe people or students. Students. Then real quick, I can have the list items. So item times like how many are we? Probably we are 10 of us. So let me hit on a tab, then 10 of them are going to be created. But you can as well create these items manually, like create one by one. Create one by one. So the first name probably is King, maybe IBM, maybe Christina, maybe James, maybe who else is on this meeting? Let me use your names real quick. Joseph, Sylvester, Emmanuel. Yeah, Joseph, Sylvester, Emmanuel. Who else? Just 3 more names. Maybe Harriet, Simon, and Abraham. Harriet, Simon, and Abraham. Some of you guys are wondering how I created these list items. This is what I did, guys. Let me cut this. I'll paste it back. But I just wrote their item, then multiply by 10. Then hit tab on the keyboard. Tab on the keyboard. It creates 10 of them, but I have already done that, guys. So let me just paste it back so we can continue. Yeah. So we have our list items right there. We have our list items right there. So let's just go back to our users fragment layout file and display these names right there. So on our list view right here with our ID my list, let's just say entries. Entries, I can simply say at array students. Yeah, at array students. So I'm very sure those names have been displayed on that list if I run it on my phone. Yeah, or if I test it on an emulator or something like that. So real quick, on our fragment called users fragment, let us find the view by ID to our list view and set an on item click listener. On item click listener. On item click listener. So real quick, right up here, I can simply say now list view. Let me call it maybe M list, my list students. Then right down here, I can simply say M list students equals to view dot find view by ID r dot ID dot list my list. I gave it an ID my list. Then we can simply say M list students dot set on item click. Yeah, set on item click listener. Then just say new on item click. Yeah, new on item click. Yeah, as you can see, we are using adapter view dot on item click listener. Yeah, so because we want to run this application, and when we run it, when someone clicks on any of those items, we can display maybe the name that has been clicked. So I can simply say maybe string maybe name, string name equals to this parent here. So parent dot get item at position. Which position? This position. Position. Sorry. Then dot to string. We need to switch it to string. Then we can just toast. You saw how we were doing the toast? So we can just toast and say something like maybe, so where are we toasting this message from? So we can't say we are doing maybe users fragment dot this. No, we can simply say get context. Get context. Sorry, get context. Then we can simply say name, concatenate some text and say name clicked. Yeah, name clicked. So when we run this application, guys, I'm very sure you're going to see something like name clicked. Then the name, we have gotten a name at every position, guys. Yeah, this is super straightforward, super straightforward. But now the problem is when we want to click, when we want to click to go to this page, what happens? So all that magic has to be done from the navigation graph file, this nav graph. So when someone clicks on a button next, this time around, let us not take them on the second fragment. Instead, yeah, let us not put the destination on the second fragment, but instead let us put the destination on the user's fragment. But as a matter of fact, let's create such like an action for the user's fragment. So we can just copy these, yeah, this fragment, then also just paste it right down here. Then this fragment, we can give it an ID as maybe users fragment. We can switch the ID to users fragment. Then the name is not first fragment, is users fragment. Then the label, you see the label of the fragment is, you see we are not going to use first fragment in the strings file. So we need to go to the strings file and also look for the first fragment label. Here it is. Let's copy it and at least just paste it down here, then change it from first fragment to users fragment. Users fragment. Then the title that is going to be there is users fragment. As a matter of fact, that's it. So that now when we come back to the navigation graph, yeah, right here on the string resource, we change this to users fragment label. Users fragment label. Then the layout is fragment users. Its layout file is fragment users, or users fragment, sorry. Users fragment, yeah, the one that we are working with, this one here. Yeah, that is its layout. Then the action, when someone is clicking anything on, when someone is clicking anything on the users fragment, we would like to take them back home to the first fragment. But in the meantime, you see, let's change the destination here. When someone is clicking on this ID, yeah, let's change the destination to be on the users fragment. Super. So as a matter of fact, guys, so after changing all these, we can try to run this on our phones and see or we can try to test this on our emulator and see if this works correctly. So just real quick, so I can connect my phone to run this, then I'll show you the screen of how it looks like, guys. All right, here's our screen, guys. So here's our application. Our application is right. Application is right here, my basic activity here. So when I click on this button next, as a matter of fact, you will see is going to this page, and you see here is our list. And when I click on King, you will see a toast message. That is now the toast message I was talking about. When I click on Emmanuel, yeah, real quick, you see Emmanuel clicked. And also, if you are keen enough, you can see this part right up here. Yeah, you see when I tap on settings clicked. When I tap on logout clicked, and you see exit is just like appearing on the action bar right up there. It is not like these options right here. Yeah, it is actually unique because we say it show as action always, but you see when I click on it, the application exits. That is the logic I told you. This is how to exit a mobile application, or yeah, to exit an app. So clearly, guys, you've seen how that works, and really smoothly. We haven't even had any challenges working with the basic activity. And you've seen we've tried to move from one fragment to another, and you can actually follow these same class, yeah, because I'm going to share with you, then to understand the details of it all. If there are concepts that you missed probably because of one reason or another, you can get them on this class. All right. So the very next concept that we are going to talk about is how to work with a tabbed activity. You see the way WhatsApp has got three or four screens, and you can swipe across them. Yeah. So how we want to implement such like a swipe effect in an app, in a mobile application. Yeah. So let's take a 5-minute not yet time for a break. Let's just start a new project, because this one we have seen how it works. Let's start a new project with a tabbed activity so that we see how to work with a tabbed activity in Android applications. Yeah, so real quick guys, let's just close these. Then let's just start a new Android Studio project. But this time around, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to select the tabbed activity. Tabbed activity, right down here. Tabbed activity. Then just hit on next. Then I can simply call this as maybe my tabbed application. Can call it like that, my tabbed application. So real quick guys, let's just hit on a finish, give it a few seconds to complete building, then we can continue with our class guys. So as a matter of fact, as usual guys, I don't really like working with these I don't really like working with these test files, so I'm really doing away with them. That, and then like that. Those two test files I've also done away with them. And clearly when you look at it now, yeah, when you look at it now, right now, you again have this folder called UI main. So inside here, we have three files: the page view model, the placeholder fragment, and this file called sections pager. Sections pager. Yeah, this sections pager is the one that is going to really play a great role. Yeah, a great role in ensuring that we fix all those three. Actually, in this class, I want us to have at least 3 swipes. Yeah, someone can swipe across 3 screens. Just like WhatsApp has got like 4 of them, but one of the screens is for chats, another one is for status, and another one is for calls. So I just want us to implement the one for like to swipe through, like say chats, status, and calls, something like that. Yeah. So real quick on our UI main guys, we can create our first fragment. Right click, simply say new fragment. Then we can create fragment with view model. Then this one we can even just call it as chats fragment. Chats fragment, finish. Give it a few seconds for it to finish, guys. That is done, guys. So the very next thing that we need to do is let's create. So we have created chats fragment. Trust me, it has also created the chats view model, but we are going to do away with the view model, guys. I don't really work with this view model in my classes. So real quick, let's just right click again, create now the status fragment, new fragment, then fragment with view model. Then I can simply call this as status fragment. Hit on a finish like that. Yeah, and give it for it to finish. So that's done. So the very next one is the calls fragment. Right click, say new, new fragment, fragment with view model. Then right away I can call this as calls fragment. Calls fragment. Let it finish again, guys. All right. So guys, we have actually been able to delete the view models just like the same way we did in the other fragment. And yeah, sorry guys, we had an interruption with the internet connectivity right there. Yeah, but anyway, let's just continue. So in our previous session, we just looked at how to delete the view models, and this is how my calls fragment is not now looking like. I've done away with its view model, yeah, and every other thing is working as I desire, yeah. So real quick on the sections page, if you look at the sections page, guys, yeah, you see these file here. Sorry once again for that interruption. Yeah, a few challenges here and there, but we are going to sort them in a few. Yeah, so let's just continue. So when you look at our sections page, real quick, you see we have these tab titles. Yeah, so these tab titles right here is just tab text 1, tab text 2. But you see, they're getting it from the string resource file. So when I simply come to the string resource file right down here, yeah, you see tab text 1 is just tab 1. Yeah, and then, but you see, for us, we just want tab 1 to be something like, say, instead of tab 1 to be something like charts. Then this to be something like status. And you also need tab 3 to be called, because we're working with 3 fragments, guys. Before calls, like that, like that. Then right away in our sections page, we can simply proceed by also adding some tab 3, because we have created it. R dot string dot tab text 3, this one here. Then on the sections page right down here, let's just increase the number of the, or the count of the fragments that we are going to display to be 3. Then right here, on the fragment, when we get each fragment, or when we get, actually an item is a fragment. When we get each fragment, let us just switch through the positions of these fragments and display each one of them. So instead of working with this return, real quick, I can simply say switch through the position that is, okay, switch through every position, then case position 0, return new, like say the first one is charts fragment, like that. Case 1, return new status fragment. And case 2, return new calls fragment. Otherwise, or default, return null. Return nothing. Otherwise, return nothing. So once we do this, guys, this is it. This is it. We are actually ready to run this application. It's actually working. It's fully working, guys. So what I would like us to do is, let's just, for us to know on which page we are on, let's just go to each individual fragment and just change a background color. Like for example, this calls fragment, I can simply give it some nice background color, like say background, start with a hash, follow through by any 3 numbers. Then when I follow through with any 3 numbers, let me give it some really cool light color like that. Then on the charts fragment, let me also give it a nice color. So let me also give it a nice background, so that when we run this application, we know which fragment is which fragment. So let me also give it a hash with any 3 numbers. Let me also choose some really light color there. Yeah, that is the second fragment, charts fragment. And the status fragment, I can also give it some really nice background color. So start with a hash, follow through by any 3 numbers. Then I can simply select which color, this one here. Let me give it a really cool color right there. Yeah, that is the status fragment. And you see, if I wanted to drag and drop anything right here, yeah, I will simply do away with this text view. And instead of dragging and dropping things on a frame layout, I will start by dragging and dropping at least a linear layout. Then I can start dragging and dropping whichever list view, text view, image view, or whatever thing that I'm working, recycler view, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So this is exactly like the way we have dragged and dropped a list view on our previous basic activity fragment. Yeah. So real quick, guys, let's try to run this and see how this works. Great. My tabbed application, the very last project here. So let me tap on it. So here it is, guys. So you see, it is launching with charts. Yeah. Then definitely status. Then there is calls right there. Yeah. So if you wanted to drag and drop anything on these layouts, go ahead, guys. I mean, whatever you will drag and drop here will work like on any other page. Even though you are working from a fragment, you see we can swipe. Yeah. Actually, our application is working perfectly okay without any problems. Yeah. So this is how easily you can create an application without really having issues for as long as you choose the right activity, and that's it. So so the very next so let me just disable